Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you guys can see, we are in the shop today, and today we'll be working on the Corvette. Well, the motor for the Corvette. So as you guys know, in the past, we did the 1/2-inch head studs for the block. You guys can see those there. We drilled out the cylinder heads, wherever those are, that's over there. And for us to even start on the bottom end, I needed the camshaft. As you guys can see, we have all our parts that we're gonna be using today, and what we're doing is installing the cam in the motor. And this is a Cammotion custom grind that I spec'd through my tuner. So as you guys have known, that I've gone to PCM North Carolina for like the last 10 or 15 years, whatever it's been. Alvin has tuned the SS, the Corvette, and I guess that's about it. The ZR2, I don't think has been cracked yet, so as of right now, you still can't tune those. I'm not sure we ever will be able to, hopefully someday, but in the meantime, we can still tune the Corvette and the SS. But yeah, so I reached out to them. I said, hey, I need a camshaft for this Kong 2650 on a forged bottom end motor that's 10,000 over. So, so I gave them the specs on the cylinder heads, the blower, the pulleys will be running, everything. And yeah, so I think it was like a $35 or $40 fee. They gave me the cam specs, and then I took that and reached out to Cammotion, and I ordered my cam through them. Now, PCM normally uses comp cams, but unfortunately, comp cams, and I believe it's Edelbrock? Yeah, that sounds right. They've been going through a merger and they've been redoing all their systems, so they are super backed up. And I think PCM said the last time they called, they were 8 to 10 weeks out. Well, I ordered this through Cammotion. Their website said 2 to 3 weeks. And I actually ordered this on May the 12th. Today's like June the 2nd or 3rd, something like that. So it did take not quite a month, but just about a month, so 3+ weeks to get the camshaft, so they weren't too far off on their estimate. So yeah, I took the cam card that PCM gave me, sent it over to Cammotion. They custom cut it for me, and here we are. I will include the cam specs down below. Now guys, mind you, my motor is forged bottom end. It's a big blower, so I don't think this cam spec would work well for most setups. Like I said, I've got a really unique setup, and I've got milled heads now because they mill them 5,000ths over. So all kinds of custom stuff, and yeah, so you have to take that in consideration when you order your cam. So here's the camshaft from Cammotion. Actually, here is the specs: 226, 243 with the 15 on that. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. And as I said in the previous video, I ordered their high strength steel. I forget what the exact name was. I'll include that down below. But so basically for the cam, we're just gonna put a lot of lube on it, be careful, and put it in the motor. There's nothing in the way this time. When I did this previously, I actually have dropped lifters down the bore of the cylinder. That was with the old motor and the LS9 cam, but this, they do this one lobe at a time. But yeah, so this is just should be fairly straightforward because there's no lifters in the motor. There's nothing to really seize this up. So yeah. Looks like there's a lot of snot on there, but it's just kind of the consistency of the engine assembly lube that we have. And yeah, I'm just gonna stick it in here and pause when we get to the next lobe. I should have done this before I started the video, but put your old water pump bolts on here. Now I have stainless steel water pump bolts, so these are actually off the old LS3 water pump. But yeah, it just gives you that little bit more motion for this last lobe to kind of push up and push it in. And I'm not really saying push it in or jam it in, just very gently push it in. And yeah, so that is the camshaft install. And what we're gonna do now is put on the cam retaining plate as well as the timing chain and all that. So actually picked up some ARP hardware. This is for the retainer plates, part number 134 1002. Actually need to find the retainer plate, and let's get this opened up and get it installed. Alright, so here is the retainer plate. I don't really trust the part number, but it says it's 270676. That kind of seems like it might be a GM part number, might not be, but you know, this is from Molly, and I picked this up on Amazon and got it in a couple days. Actually, it's where the bolts came from too. And yeah, you know, when I did the LS9 cam, I actually did not replace the cam retainer plate, and I really should have. So yeah, we got our new retainer plate. Let's get these ARP bolts open up, and I need to see what the torque spec is. All right, so the ARP bolts, part number, like I said, 1341002. It's saying 25 foot-pounds. We're gonna definitely do that, but I am not gonna be using the Ultra Torque assembly lube. I'm gonna use red Loctite, and there's a reason because of that. All right, so like I said, this is the GM, well, Molly manufactured it, maybe they manufactured for the GM one too. But yeah, so the GM plate and red Loctite. The reason we're gonna do red Loctite on here, guys, is because I've seen horror stories of these bolts backing out on the camshaft as well as the retainer plate. So yeah, we're gonna use red Loctite on here. I know that might be a no-no, but you know, I got the other motor disassembled without any issue with these cam bolts, this retainer plate bolts, or the cam gear bolts itself. And you know, that red Loctite held on there for dang near a decade. All right, so we got the bolts put on with the ratchet, and yeah, we're simply just gonna torque these down in a crisscross pattern. All right, the camshaft plate is on. Everything's been Loctited and torqued down to 25 foot-pounds. Let's go ahead, get the cam gear ready. We'll get the timing chain and the ARP bolts for the cam gear. Here is the GM, well actually it's a GM replacement cam gear. When I did the LS9 camshaft, 10 years ago, whenever that was, I replaced this then. I've only put 20 or 30,000 miles on the car, so I'm not replacing this. Plus, these are kind of hard to find right now. Not that I really looked for it, but yeah, there's absolutely no wear in here, so we're just gonna reuse it. I did get new bolts, because like I said previously, I'd only use the GM bolts. We're going with the ARP bolts. And the ARP bolts for the camshaft is 1341003, and same thing as the other. Torque the bolts to 25 foot-pounds, and again, we're not gonna use the Ultra Torque, we're just gonna use red Loctite. Actually, you guys can kind of see some of the old red Loctite on there from the previous install. So the thing is, guys, you will see that this is a half moon shape. If you guys have a 2005 Corvette, you need to use the half moon shape. If you guys have a 05 Trailblazer or a CTS-V, I think they may have gone to the 48X reluctor wheel, but this is the 24X. It's simply on or off for the cam gear. So this is the 24X cam gear, like I was saying. Yeah, I ran into that problem when I did the LS9 swap like 10 years ago. So yeah, kind of like I was saying, you're gonna wanna line up the pin and bolt the cam gear on. So I actually think I have the cam gear a little too far in. So I'm gonna use these bolts to kind of pull it back out, if that makes sense. So you will notice I don't have any Loctite or anything like that on here. I am gonna pull these bolts back out after we get the cam gear lined up properly. Okay, so yeah, it actually looks like the cam gear is lined up. It's just the way that this is made. So There will be a little bit of a gap there. Like I was saying, I just don't remember seeing that when I took this apart the first time. So yeah, just tighten this down and we'll torque it. So it looks like we're done here. We got the cam gear on there, cams in, we should be good to go. But unfortunately, I forgot the most important part. That is the timing chain. So this is a C5R timing chain from K-Tech. This was pretty expensive, but it's part number KAT7636. And I think should say Cloys or something on here. My engine builder was telling me about this. He's like, these timing chains have to say a certain thing. And I believe there was one link that says K-Tech. It's right here. Okay. So you know that's legitimately a K-Tech timing chain. And yeah, it's right there. So yeah, I think we should be good to go. All right, so two things. I gotta take the cam gear off, obviously. The second is we need to line up the crankshaft. There's a dot on the crankshaft. There's also a dot on the timing gear. Line those up because this cam doesn't have any advance built in or anything. We're just gonna bolt it in straight up. Get those lined up, get the cam gear lined up, and get this all back together. All right, guys, I kind of had to manipulate the timing of the cam. I had to move the cam around a little bit. I had to move the crankshaft around a little bit. But basically, the best way I can describe on how to line up these two gears is kind of have the crankshaft pointing a little bit back, have the camshaft pointed a little bit forward, put the bolts into the camshaft when they line up, and then when you finally start moving it, they will perfectly line up. So kind of, you almost have to have it off by like half a tooth. I mean, it's not actually off half a tooth. It's straight up and down, so it's lined up now. But if you know what I'm saying, it's like I have to have it not perfectly straight up, kind of have it maybe a little bit like that. And that will allow you to get the cam moved around where you need it, because you can't spin it around. And then when you start moving the crankshaft, it will line up perfectly. So, all right, so we got everything perfectly lined up. It's time to torque it. Again, 25 foot-pounds. Nothing too special here. Okay. There you go. That's pretty much it for the timing gear. All right, so that's gonna be it for the timing chain, the gear, and all the bolts for that, the plate, all that stuff. What we gotta do now is put on the timing chain guide, and you will see this is the LS2 style. This is not the LS3 style with that spring in it, and they break all the time, so people upgrade to this. For me, this was stock. Now this piece is new-ish. I replaced this when I put in the LS9 cam like 9 years ago, whatever it was. So we're not replacing it at this time. It's like 30 bucks to replace it. This piece is in great condition. There's a couple marks on it, but here is the LS2 timing chain guide. I saw some recommendations on here to put blue Loctite on here, so that's what we're gonna do. I don't know if it's necessary. I mean, it is a pretty long bolt going into the block. I didn't see any Loctite on here when I took it apart, but you know, guys, it's not gonna hurt anything. And yeah, so you just want to get it going the right way and kind of push it in, and yeah, and just tighten it down. So this will go in. It's a 13 mil. So it's a 13 mil, like I said, and you torque it to 18 foot-pounds. And so yeah, that is going to be the end of today's video. I actually have a bunch of chores to do. I need to go mow, and it's supposed to rain tomorrow, so I want to try to get as much stuff as we can. But yeah, so as you guys can see, the timing marks are perfectly lined up. I wanted to point that out. So bottom of the cam gear, top of the crank gear, that is perfectly lined up. Got the LS2 style guide in there. We got the C5R chain. We've got the ARP bolts. We've got that Molly cam retaining plate and the bolts behind there. So yeah, 25 foot-pounds for all of the ARP bolts and 18 foot-pounds for the GM bolt. And so yeah, that's gonna be it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button. If you guys want to see the wrapping up this bottom end video hit that subscribe button, turn on your bell notifications. If you guys want to help support the channel, I will drop links to everything that we used today, except for the camshaft. Obviously, that was custom spec by PCM, sent to Cammotion, and they ground it and shipped it this way. But all these parts, you know, the guide, the bolts, the timing chain, all that stuff, I got all that on Amazon. So I'll share those links down below. And also make sure you check out our website, BonecrrusherSS.com. Any contribution you guys can go make there, they go right back into the channel, this motor, and all the future projects. So thanks, guys. Have a great one.